So in my continued adventures to try to fill up as much content as possible before my surgery on the 23rd, because if I die, I want to keep having things come out like I'm Tupac. So I this is gonna be this is Wednesday now when I'm shooting this. This will come out next Wednesday. I'm still sore. I'm still pissing blood. My knee's still fucked up, but I start my new job tomorrow, and I wanted to. I couldn't sit around in my apartment anymore. I was going stir crazy today, so I went to Philly to the Philadelphia Mocha and saw a double feature. There was a Bruce exploitation double feature. Elvira, can you not eat my pizza? First one being the new Severin Films documentary, The Clones of Bruce Lee, and I'll put out a review of that, or that review will already be out. The second feature was one that I had heard of before, but I had never seen. The Dragon Lives Again. How best to explain this movie to you? You know the Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come? Imagine that with a total disregard for international copyright law. Jesus Christ, man. This is put out by America's Genre, AGF, America's Genre Films. This is incredible. This is absolutely fucking incredible. Bruce Lee, it dies, and he's played by Bruce Leong, who, of all the Bruce Lee clones, looks more like Bolo Young than Bolo Young does. He wakes up in the underworld, and everybody thinks he has a giant cock, because Bruce Lee's cock is a massive plot point of this movie, but it turns out that it's actually nunchucks, and the king is like, "How dare you bring weapons into my kingdom? Get the fuck out of here!" And he's like, "All right, fine, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here." So he goes to a bar where Popeye and Kung Fu from Kung Fu are having a drink, and they're like, "All right, we should probably get going." And then Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, comes in, and he starts to fuck with Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee is like, "I don't want any fucking trouble." Well, Zatoichi's like, "Well, you fucking found trouble, motherfucker." I'm paraphrasing, and then he gets into a fight, but he was drugged. So Bruce Lee passes out, and then like these two fine Asian ladies and like Asian Gandalf find him, and they're like, "Oh, you're Bruce Lee. We heard about you. You're a great fighter. Where you come from?" And the lady's like, "And he has a giant cock." And he's like, "Yeah, that was my kryptonite back on Earth. I cheated on my wife a bunch. I'm sorry, Linda." It's something he says in the movie. Linda in real life was Bruce Lee's wife, and apparently he died in the bed of another woman. It was like a whole thing, but I was just like, holy shit. So fucking at the same time, Bruce Lee's being nursed back to health, we meet the Godfather, the Exorcist, James Bond, Clint Eastwood, and they're like, "Yo, we're gonna fucking overthrow the king of the underworld. But Bruce Lee's here, so we should probably get him to come and join us." And Bruce Lee now is out and about, and he goes into like a gambling hall, and he's like, "You guys are in hell because you gambled, so you probably shouldn't do it anymore." And everybody's like, "Fair." So everybody stops gambling, and instead they go, and Bruce Lee starts giving like kung fu classes in the middle of the street, and then like, you know, Zatoichi shows up to fight him, and they have every time they do a new move, they say what the move is in you know, subtitled at the bottom of the screen. And because Zatoichi's blind, everything is blind something. And one of them is he's walking on his hands backwards with his legs in the air, and it's blind dog pissing. And then every one of Bruce Lee's moves is a name of one of his movies. And at the same time, this is going on. So you've got a skeleton army that sounds like Snarf from Thundercats and looks like the putties from Power Rangers, okay? you've got Zatoichi, you've got James Bond, you've got the Exorcist, who has a French accent, you have Clint Eastwood, and you have the Godfather. Okay, and at the same time, Emmanuel is there from all the sex films. And the king of the underworld, he's not sexually attractive to his beautiful Asian wives anymore. And he's trying to like spice things up by blindfolding himself and chasing them around in a little like hot tub. And then the water disappears for no reason. And he's like, put all of my top men on finding where the water went. But all the ladies are all like, yo, we're going to go shapeshift into Asian Gandalf's daughters so that we can check out that big old Bruce Lee cock. So they bring a potion that's supposed to make Bruce Lee like stay like hard longer, but then they accidentally drink it. So then now they're in blackface basically. And the king is like, I don't like you two anymore. So Emmanuel is like, here's my opportunity. So the French exorcist brings Emmanuel. He's like, Emmanuel will be your bride now. And she's like, yep. So the king of the underworld and Emmanuel fuck, but the king has a bad heart. And each thrust is being counted by a dude with an abacus. And Manuel's too sexy and she's grinding on him too much. So the guy throws the abacus away and then picks up a calculator. So Bruce Lee fights James Bond. And James Bond just kind of swings a briefcase at him that's full of money. And then like, so either they're fighting in like the little town set, or they go to what looks like where Captain Kirk fought the Gorn. And so he takes out Zatoichi, who's like, I'm blind, I should probably get out of here, I'll figure out my way. And I was like, that dude's gonna die in the desert. He fights James Bond, who gets beat up. There's a whole good, bad, and the ugly scene, music and everything, because again, copyright law don't exist in this dojo. Because at one point they just when they're talking about Bruce Lee's cock, they're just playing the song Kung Fu Fighting. So there's the whole good, the bad, and the ugly scene, and he kills Clint Eastwood. And I like that they don't call him the man with no name or whatever. They literally just call him Clint Eastwood. The Godfather's like, we're gonna send him to Mexico. Like that's what says in his will, but it's like he's already in the underworld. So wouldn't his body already be buried somewhere? So the skeletons aren't working anymore. James Bond is out of commission. Zatoichi fucking hit the bricks. Clint Eastwood's dead. Emmanuel's plan got found out when Bruce Lee just shows up dressed as Kato, and the king finds out that Emmanuel and the Exorcist were behind it, and the king goes, I should have known Emmanuel's pussy was part of this plan. And it's at this point I'm thinking to myself, like, is there a gas leak in the theater? Like, this isn't a real movie. So they call on Dracula. So now Dracula shows up in the place where Captain Kirk fought the Gorn, and Bruce Lee, dressed as Kato, shows up there to fight Dracula and the snarf-sounding putty skeletons. And Dracula doesn't do anything, and they didn't finish his makeup. So it's like he's like an Asian dude dressed as like traditional like Halloween Dracula. He's got the fake fingernails. He's got the plastic teeth in. The makeup, the green makeup doesn't cover all over the place. Beats everybody up, and then Dracula like attacks, and it looks like Dracula's trying to suck Bruce Lee's giant cock at one point. But Bruce Lee beats him, and then gets the secret plans that Dracula had, and then goes back to the king, and he's like, look, everybody's against you, man. So the king is like, all right, Bruce Lee, you're my new guard. And Bruce Lee's like, all right, I'm going to go get all my people, like Popeye and the one-armed swordsman and shit. So Bruce Lee leaves, and then fucking the Godfather and the Exorcist are just hanging out in the place where they hang out, and they're like, hey, nobody's at the palace, maybe we should go kill the king. And he's like, yeah, it's a really good idea. So then they go, so then the king's like, Bruce Lee wasn't here to protect me, so clearly Bruce Lee is against me now. So the king abandons his post and just finds a random guy, and he's like, hey, Bruce Lee was supposed to protect me, but he's not, so I don't want to be king anymore, can you protect me? And the guy's just like, oh, hey, I just look like a peasant, but it just so happens that I'm a fucking wizard. And he was like, wow, what a lucky coincidence. And he's like, well, I guess I'll make an army of mummies now. So they go out to the middle of where the Gorn fought Captain Kirk, and Bruce Lee shows up, and he's like, hey, Bruce Lee, I'm the king of the underworld, and this fucking wizard brought some mummies with him, and now they're going to fight them. And he's like, oh shit, well, I got to go fight the Godfather and the Exorcist. I'll be right back. This movie is way too long, okay? There's a really fucking long, drawn-out fight scene where Bruce Lee fights the Exorcist and the Godfather. Oh, and earlier when I forgot earlier when Asian Gandalf takes him back to his thing, he just so happens to have like a skeleton that talks, like at the end of fucking House on Haunted Hill. How Vincent Price is like puppeteering a skeleton. There's just one of those, and he's sentient, and we never see him again. So he fights. The Exorcist goes out like a chump, but the Godfather takes longer. Godfather, of course, they both do the thing where they take their shirts off and they're all ripped and like staring each other down like in a Bruce Lee movie. All that's done, you're like, all right, I can't do any more fighting. And the fucking wizard guy shows up with the king and the mummies, and then the mummies start fighting him, but they're basically playing Ring Around the Rosie with him. At points, it looks like it could have been that Daft Punk video, like Around the World. So Bruce Lee's losing. And again, this isn't really Bruce Lee. This is Bruce Leong, who's one of the guys who was a ripoff Bruce Lee after Bruce Lee died. Go and watch my review of the Bruce Lee documentary to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. And then out of nowhere, as he's losing, and the king's like, haha, I knew it, Bruce Lee. You're not that great at kung fu, and your cock's not that big from what I heard. And then Popeye, the one-armed swordsman, and kung fu show up. Popeye fucking eats his spinach, and then there's just a melee of everybody fighting mummies. The mummies have to keep adjusting their masks because they can't see. It's like the scene in Django Unchained where the clan is like the fucking the mask. So Bruce Lee fights the mummies, and then he fights the peasant who's actually a wizard. Everybody else beats up all of the mummies. And the king's like, oh, fuck, I'm going to get out of here. So the king starts running away, but then all the townspeople who Bruce Lee got to stop adultering and gambling all show up, and all taught them kung fu as well. And they're like, Bruce Lee's a hero. And he's like, all right, well, you could be the king. And he's like, well, I don't want to be the king. I just want to go back to Earth. And he's like, all right, I'll send you back to Earth. Then the king fucking yeets Bruce Lee, and is a dummy that's just flying up into the thing. And then, like, it's the end of Grease where everyone's looking up and waving, and then the movie ends. I was like, I've seen a lot of shit, okay? And I knew this movie existed. I knew there was a movie where Bruce Lee fought Popeye and Dracula. I don't know. Talk about a cinematic universe way before Marvel. 1977, The Dragon Lives Again. It's hard to quantify this thing. It's just fucking madness with just some of the most bizarre lines. Just fucking terrible dubbing, terrible editing, but it's just so fucking batshit crazy. And I saw it with a crowd tonight, and everybody had a really good fucking laugh. So it's available through American Genre Films. I have no fucking clue how much the Blu-ray probably is at this point. But goddamn, this was a fucking good time, man. Like, if you just explain to somebody the idea of, oh yeah, you know, Bruce Lee teams up with Popeye to fight Dracula, James Bond, Clint Eastwood, Emmanuel, The Exorcist, The Godfather, mummies, Dracula, skeletons. Or none of this happened, and the drugs I'm on before my surgery are really fucking good. That also could be possible. Right now, I think I'm giving a really eloquent review, and when I watch it back on Wednesday, it's just me drooling. I look like that time that that dude I used to work with, Kieran, was fucking drunk on his stream, just fast asleep, pissing his pants and shit like that. All right, that's it. The Dragon Lives Again. Incredible. Absolutely fucking incredible.